Hey there, this is Emily and Bernie from Third Place Works, where we help co-working professionals with tailored cohorts and one-on-one consulting. Our proven frameworks can help you get focused, stay accountable, and see real results. Want to learn more? Check out the show notes for all the details on how to join us and take your co-working business to the next level.
Hello, folks. It's another Coworking Values Podcast, and today's guest just makes me want to be a better person every time I see her content online. So, Stacey, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for?
That just made me laugh. So I am Stacey Sheppard, and I run a co-working space for female entrepreneurs and women in business in the deepest, darkest depths of rural Devon. And I guess I want to be known for helping women start and grow businesses and overcoming all the myriad challenges that we have to face along the entire path of the entrepreneurial journey.
So, Stacey, if you were to define yourself as a leader, what kind of leader are you?
Interesting. So I've been through a very deep self-discovery process around this because a lot of women within my community were coming to me and asking me if I would be a coach or a mentor for them, which I didn't feel able to do. And I had to try and figure out why that was the case and what it was that was not allowing me to help people when they asked. And I realized it was vocabulary. It was just the simple words coach and mentor really weren't something that I could identify with. I don't have a coaching qualification, so I didn't feel qualified to be a coach. And to me, a mentor was, in my mind, when I visualized a mentor, it was usually a middle-aged white man who had all the answers, had probably founded and exited a number of companies quite successfully. So obviously that's ridiculous, but that was what I was imagining in my mind. So I couldn't be a mentor either. So I had to do a lot of work around that. And I thought to myself, the simplest way to bypass that is probably to just find a different word. So I went to the thesaurus and typed in coach and mentor and tried to find a different word. And what I came up with was a business shepherd. And that led me to discover shepherd leadership.
Jeez, and what's your name, Stacey?
I know, Stacey Sheppard.
And Stacey, what's your world-renowned design blog called?
The Design Shepherd.
See how I set you up there?
I know, amazing.
It's like one of those novels where the answers in your town that you left and travelled around the world with.
Absolutely. But yeah, that was something that I definitely felt comfortable with, not just because it's my name, but the whole concept around shepherd leadership just really felt like something the world needs right now.
What is because this is right in the Peter Blockness, which I'll link to the other podcast. He talks a lot about this type of leadership, and I know some people will be going, "Oh, just get on with it," but how you the vibration you give out in your leadership, I think, is really, really important. And I too, I've actually put coach in my coach and consultant. I think I can't remember now in my bio because I just had to get on with it. But that all those definitions I really relate to too. I feel like if hello, I'm Bernard Mitchell, super mentor, and that's not how I do my best work.
No.
So dig into the shepherd thing.
Absolutely, yeah, that feels very natural to me.
What does it? What is it? Is it the same as servant leadership, or is it a little different?
It is a little bit different. So essentially, it's a bit of an extension of servant leadership. So you're primarily focusing on the growth and well-being of the people in your community, which is absolutely something that I strive to do in my community. And shepherd leadership, you're at the front of your community being a leader and serving as a role model, but it's a really specific way of being and doing. So you're really trying to think ahead and empower your community to do more than they'd be able to do if they were just on their own. And in doing that, you're creating an environment where they can grow and where there's more progress. And you're really listening to their needs and then trying to meet those needs, and guide them along that journey and keep them safe as you're going.
Do you think it's like a sort of faith over fear thing?
Definitely.
Have you ever thought of like starting a thing called that?
Absolutely. So
Yeah, got seamless link there, folks.
seamless link. Yeah. So over the last year, I've had an incredible amount of, since I've started my co-working community, I've had an incredible amount of challenges with the pandemic and the cost of living crisis, then my landlord selling the building that we were based in. But I've had a real difficult time this year facing scary situations. So doing things that I'm feeling really, really called to do, that I know are on my path and that I know that I'm meant to embrace, but that are actually super uncomfortable, super scary, and having to push through that so that I don't self-sabotage and let myself down. And my community has obviously been watching me pushing through the fear and doing the scary things and just taking that leap of faith and hoping against all odds that everything's going to work out well. And so far, touch wood, everything has been ticking over quite nicely and working out better than I could have hoped, actually. And so one thing that I do want to do before the end of this year is to start a faith over fear club where people can come together and face their fears together, because it's extremely lonely when you're trying to do the scary things completely by yourself. And I think doing these kind of things in a group where you have support and accountability and people cheering you on and reminding you of exactly why this is what you should be doing and the strengths that you bring to it and the challenges that you've overcome in the past, and giving you the tools and resources that you need to do those scary things is just beyond powerful. So that is definitely something that I'm going to launch before the end of the year.
And obviously, I don't need a group like this, but if I was to come to this group, what would the scary things be that I overcome?
Well, it can be anything. All of us have goals and dreams that we want to achieve, that we feel we're being called to achieve, but we tell ourselves the most ridiculous stories often, and that's what really gets in the way of us achieving these dreams, is the stories that we tell ourselves. And we really need to learn to tell ourselves better stories, because often those stories are just a way of keeping us safe and keeping us playing small and keeping us slightly invisible, because there's obviously a lot of risk in doing these big scary things, because a lot of the time you do need to be visible. So for example, people who want to write a book and they're always saying one day I'll write a book, and there's a million reasons why that day is not today, and they're waiting to be ready, or they're waiting to be confident enough, or they're waiting to make friends with a publisher, or whatever the reason may be. People who want to start a podcast, people who want to speak on stage, people who want to launch a course, anything really that you've been wanting to do for a long time, but you're telling yourself that one day you'll get to it.
And I think like all of that, that comes up a lot in our Write Club. And there's, when we used to do London Bloggers Meetup for a few years, we ran like every other week, we ran a how to launch a blog thing. You know, I know you do a lot of this stuff, and so many people came and were like, yeah, I'm going to launch a blog on this. And every day they change their, every week they change their thing. And as I got to know more comfortable with these people, in a very kind way, I said, like, are you ever going to do this or not? Not as horrible as that, but, and they, you know, they just couldn't do it. And there are things that I couldn't do. Like I would try and rise, like this podcast is doing really well because we only do this podcast now. But I've done like 1,000 podcast episodes, probably more than that now, because I've always had like 6 podcasts on a go. And one was about Post-it notes, one was about cooking chicken, and one was about traveling in Argentina. And none of them went anywhere because, you know, but that was like elegant self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And just, I think,
And I think
not even I think,
people think they need to be ready, don't they? You think
yes,
you need to be ready to write the book. I need to research more, or interview more people, or learn more things, or I need to take a course about writing a book, or I need to. But actually, when you boil it down, the only thing you need to do is put your pen on that paper and start writing.
yep. And
And you
that's
can do that tomorrow with nothing. As long as you've got a pen and a paper, you can start literally now. And that, I love that phrase, be brave enough to do something badly today, or whatever it is. Because that is essentially what we need to do. We just need to find the courage to do something really poorly, because no one really starts something new and is amazing at it. Like, we get better over time with practice. So you're bound to be a bit rubbish when you start. And actually, I don't think any of us, if we were given the choice of being able to do something amazingly instantly, or improving over time, and learning and practicing and getting better at it, I think most of us would choose to improve over time. And I've had this discussion with my kids, because they're 8 and 10 now, and they're trying a lot of new things. And quite often they get really angry and frustrated. Like, my youngest daughter was trying to play a keyboard the other day. She's found a game on her on the phone that's part of Duolingo that is now music. So she's trying to play the piano, and she was quite good at it. And then my husband said, "Why don't you actually go and get your keyboard and try and play the piano?" And she found a video on YouTube and tried to follow it. And she got so incredibly frustrated and ended up lobbing my phone across the room and was crying. And I waited for her to calm down, and went and sat with her and just said to her, like, it would be pretty boring if you picked up that keyboard and could just play incredible music instantly, because then what? Like, if you can just do it straight away, where's the joy in that? The joy is actually in trying over and over again, getting it wrong, messing it up, learning, getting better. And then one day you finally play a whole song right through to the end. And it's that joy and that elation where you're jumping around like, I did it, I did it. Like, that is actually where we get that sense of achievement and that sense of purpose and progress, is from learning and improving and getting better over time. It's not from just doing it perfectly.
and there's the little, when you do something like that, when you just get it right for the first few times, and it comes naturally, that little spot there is a delicious little kick.
Absolutely.
Do you know Ira Glass and the Gap?
No.
It's link in the show notes, folks. It's it's a video where he says that when you start out, he said basically the premise is your taste is better than your ability. And when you start out playing the piano, you want to be, Tchaikovsky or someone, or Elton John, and that's possible somewhere, but can only use the Duolingo. That's really good, that Duolingo piano
Yeah.
app. You can only use that. So after 2 weeks, you might only know how to play chopsticks, but you get frustrated because you can't play a slow romantic version of Rocket Man on the piano. And it's only after you've done 100 Duolingo lessons that you'll be anywhere near that. And this really helped me recognizing that I'm not shit. It's just I haven't done enough.
Yeah.
And quite often, Andy Barger and I used to interview. It didn't go anywhere because we used to do this London Bloggers Meetup podcast where we talked to top bloggers and influencers, about blogging. And then we'd end it by saying, "Oh, so Stacey, what's your one bit of advice for people starting a blog?" And they all said, "Just do it." So the end result was like everyone saying, "Just do it." And along the way, they'd say, when YouTube started to become bigger about 10 years ago, how do you make good YouTube videos? And it's like, just don't talk to me until you've done 100 videos. And then when you've done 100 videos, you'll actually know what to ask, because you're asking like, how do I get to number one? Or how do I do this? Or how do I do this? And you only find it out by posting, 100 mediocre videos, and then you'll start getting there.
I actually saw a really good tweet once. I think it was Alex Hormozy, that entrepreneur. And it was about podcasting. And it said something about, how do you get to be one of like the top 10% of podcasters. And it was something so simple like put out more than 21 podcasts, because the majority of people give up way before that. Like they're giving up way before they get good. They're just not putting in the hours and the reps to get good enough to be considered to be one of the top. And that really blew my mind, because it just made me think how many people out there are giving up where they're literally a few steps before the precipice of greatness.
So that gave me massive encouragement and focus, because there's a friend of mine who runs a podcast. I'm not even sure if it's still here there now, but it was basically a podcast player app with a social media thing in it. And he said that most podcasts get less than 25 listens, and most podcasts don't go beyond 20. And I just thought, all right, so if we do enough, we'll just,
Yeah, that's the benchmark that we're aiming for.
That's it. And then
we need to do at least 21 podcasts before we can get started.
And I'm not, I mean, obviously I wouldn't say, oh no, don't worry about me. But like, I'm not interested in being like number one podcast in the world and all that kind of thing. But you want to do the best you can and reach your audience and stuff like that.
And I think it's really important, actually, when you're going to start something new, to just do a little bit of research to find out about the landscape so that your expectations are realistic. Because I think without doing that, we all have wildly unrealistic expectations. So I've worked with clients who, they're really too scared to put their website live because they're worried that the minute they press that live button, they're going to get this massive flood of traffic to their website. And then those people might spot a spelling mistake, or they might judge them, or they might, have feedback that they don't want to hear. But actually, if you did a bit of research, you'd find that it's going to probably take a good few months for Google to maybe index your site to start bringing you any traffic. So you're going to put that website live and literally nothing will happen. So the thing that you're scared of isn't even realistically a possibility. And I always try to do that, whatever I'm doing in business. Like when I decided to set up a co-working space, the first thing I did was went and really researched into the co-working market, because I wanted to find out, how long does it take for a co-working space to become profitable? Do they become profitable? What's the time frame like for it to become profitable? What are the obstacles that stop them from becoming profitable? Like which are the kinds of co-working spaces that see most success, the ones that find it the most difficult? And then I was able to really adjust my expectations, so I knew whether this was going to be an easy ride or like a super challenging ride. And I think that's what's enabled me to keep going for 5 years now, despite all of the challenges that I've had, is because my expectations were realistic. And I knew that this was never, ever going to be an easy ride. But the mission that I was on was important enough for me that I knew that I would stick it out and do everything that I could to overcome those obstacles and challenges. And it helped me to figure out how much work I'm going to need to put in to reach the goal that I want to reach.
So have you overcome that co-working space imposter syndrome that I always accuse you of?
No, I don't think so. I think that shall always be there in a small little pocket in the background. But I'm just so on a mission. I feel so passionately about the mission that I'm on that I'm just unwilling to give up. It would have to take something really like super serious to convince me to give up, because it's just so important to me.
That like the last year, watching you on social media and just talking to you was like being, I feel like I'm in, an episode of Ted Lasso at a crucial game. Like it's, and then, someone gets the ball in the back of the net somehow in the last minute. What is, I can't go because actually why I asked you to this podcast was because of the Athena magazine, which is another like this kind of ecosystem that you've I think this is worth pointing out as well, because when people look at you now, they're going, oh, like, got a really good blog about design and got a co-working space and has got this Faith Over Fear newsletter coaching group, if you like, shepherding group, flock. And and the magazine, but that's like 5 years of poking the box and things like that. So explain that a little bit, and then tell us about Athena magazine, which is just like wonderful.
So when I first decided to open the co-working space, it was a lot related to design. I'd been looking for a co-working space to work in because I was lonely at home, but there was just nothing locally that really grabbed me and made me want to go and work there. And from a design point of view, it was just so disappointing. So I decided to open a co-working space to create a beautiful environment for women to come and work in together and to get that community that I was lacking. Then over time, it became more focused around the barriers that women face to starting and growing businesses. And I realized that things like imposter syndrome and risk awareness and a lack of access and awareness to finance and funding were really holding women back. So I kind of made it my mission to help combat those things. And then being a mum, my two girls have obviously grown up over the last 5 years, and my eldest daughter's going to secondary school. And what with AI coming through, I'm looking at the work landscape and thinking there's so many amazing opportunities there for women. Now that the pandemic has brought in hybrid working and flexible working, we've got more opportunities. What AI is doing is giving us more opportunities to be more efficient and save time. But the world of work is absolutely changing, and I don't know how we're going to advise our children who are going through the education system at the moment what to aim for in terms of career opportunities, because half the jobs that exist today probably won't exist by the time they are ready to go into a career, and there'll be a whole host of new jobs that have emerged off the back of AI. And one thing that I think that we're not helping our kids with enough is those entrepreneurial skills, those skills to be flexible and adaptable and spot problems and present solutions and just have that grit and that determination to and that motivation to start something for themselves and see it through. So then I realized that actually it's not just women that we need to help start and grow businesses, but there's no pathway to entrepreneurship. Like if you decide to be a hairdresser, you know that you go to school, you get your qualifications, you then maybe go and do an apprenticeship or go to do a vocational qualification. If you want to be a doctor, you know exactly the path there. You've got to go to uni and medical school. If you want to be a policeman, you know what you've got to do there. But if you decide to start your own business, what do you do? Like, how many people actually know what to do? Where do you go?
It's got to be more than read Richard Branson books.
Yeah, but literally, what is the first step? Do we even know?
It is like the answer is just like hunt around on YouTube and Audible and Instagram for stuff like
to help you figure it out on your own, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There literally isn't a pathway. There is no signposting. There's no one place to go. There's loads of free and fully funded business advice out there. Like I made it my mission to find it out so that I could spread that knowledge to my community, because through conversations I realized they didn't know about any of this. And that's great that there is all this funded help out there. Women aren't accessing it because it's not being delivered to them in places where they feel comfortable to be and in spaces where they feel they belong. So that's an added barrier. But it's also often not delivered in a way that makes sense for them. It doesn't take into account the specific challenges that they have. And a lot of it is around training. So there's a lot of free and fully funded support for business around learning. So there's a lot of workshops. Now, I can tell you, I love a workshop and I'm a perpetual learner. I will sign up for all sorts. I just love learning about all sorts of things and then joining the dots in my slightly random brain between all the things that I learn. But that will only take you so far. And then after that, you kind of need some money. Like you need a bit of investment. You can learn everything. Like you can go to courses, you can learn how to do your email marketing, to write a blog, to do your SEO, to send out write a course or sales, how to improve your sales pitch, whatever. You can learn all of that. women are time poor, and a lot of the time don't have time to go away and implement all of that stuff. So then you get in that paralysis stage where you know what to do, but you haven't actually got time to do any of it. And then it comes down to money, because you need to outsource something, or you need to invest in something to help you there. But that signposting of like where to actually go on this entrepreneurial journey is so lacking. And when it comes to kids, I don't know about you, but after finishing grammar school, I was given the option of go to uni or be a failure. That was literally it. There weren't any other options presented to me. Not at a single point did anyone say, or you could start your own business. I mean, and that might be slightly different in school now, but I really think trying to create that pathway for young girls coming through the education system is really important. And so that's why I ended up launching a magazine, because I know that what I offer in my co-working space for women is really valuable, and they get a lot from it. And the conversations that we have help to create those realistic expectations. They help with the signposting. They help with that feeling of imposter syndrome and risk awareness. And it really does make a difference. But actually, I'm only helping like a very small handful of people on the grand scale of things. So, you know, a couple of hundred people might come through my co-working space in a year, but there's roughly 36,000 self-employed women in Devon who are not in that space having those conversations. And they might be in other spaces having other conversations, but a lot of them will be at home, alone, working on their own, isolated, feeling like they're failing because they're just not part of those conversations and they don't have realistic expectations. So the magazine for me was a way to extend the impact that the co-working space is having, reach more people in a wider geographical area across the whole of Devon, and also try and get it into schools and into the hands of girls who are having to make those choices about what they want to do as a career, and making sure that they know that entrepreneurship is an option and these are the places where you can go to get support.
I think like people would say, oh, there's lots of stuff out there. And as I was listening to you, like repeatedly, I thought, you know, there is lots of stuff out there, but it's like you have to find the thing that's on your frequency.
Yes, absolutely.
And, you know, as a white bloke walking around, like, I suppose arguably I've been in business for 20 years now, and walking around, and a lot of things have changed in the internet and everything like that, but it was so hard to find business advice that either wasn't incredibly expensive or free and amazingly shit.
Yeah.
And then when you get to not even just a female, like a parent trying to start a business and navigate everything that goes around there,
Yeah.
like I've got a minimal amount of time. I cannot afford to sit in front of 42 videos in a course that may or may not help me. And I always think the other thing, when you said 36,000 people or women, it's amazing how many people are out there and they don't know what is available in a co-working space, or they don't know what the support and connection and everything. And they're just like hammering away at Google, coming up with Steve Bartlett videos, you know?
And I think there's been a lot of reports recently. The Welsh government did one, which my co-working space was actually mentioned in. I found that out by accident, just by a quick Google search. And there's been an amazing Scottish report called Pathways, regarding female entrepreneurship and the lack of pathway. And all these discussions around the fact that there is no pathway into entrepreneurship. But for me, it just seems so obvious that co-working spaces would make the perfect pathway, like like, oh, you want to start a business, go to your local co-working space where it's full of business people doing the thing already,
I've
who
sat
have all
through.
this knowledge, who have all this experience, who have all these connections and these skills. Like if that could be a thing where everybody knows, if you want to start a business, go to your local co-working space, and those people who work there, the co-working space community managers, whoever it is, can then signpost on to all this other stuff that's available and connect you with that ecosystem that is there. but you have to navigate it. And like you say, find the bits that work for you and that resonate for you. Because, you know, if you are a parent and you're doing the school run, the 8 a.m. breakfast meetings, they're not going to work. The after school ones that happen at like 7 o'clock at night in the pub might not work for you if you're a single parent having to put kids to bed. But there's a whole host of help and support out there. You've just got to find the right support. But like you say, trying to wade through that is really difficult. But I would love to see co-working spaces become the pathway, or at least that first point on the pathway to entrepreneurship.
I've sat through nearly 9 years of research group for the Collaborative Spaces, which is a group of academic researchers talking about hacker spaces, co-working spaces, neighborhood spaces, local, and they're from all over, mainly from all over Europe, and there's people from the States and Japan in particular too. And it is exactly what you just said. Like, one of the best places on the face of the planet to learn how to start a business is to stumble into a co-working space. Yeah. And I think it would be a bit of a hard sell, but to say to someone, if you want to start a business, just get a desk in a co-working space and you will start to work out what to do. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, that's not how I started, but by sitting in a co-working space, and I know people that have researched the micro-learning that happens in a co-working space, and think how many times even your members have said, oh, you know, something about a WordPress plugin, or whether it's better to use Tide or Free Agent or QuickBooks or WordPress or Squarespace. And
absolutely. It just shortcuts everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking to someone who's done it, tried them all, and this is what's worked for them, and they maybe have a similar business or a similar problem that you're trying to deal with, and you can just shortcut it. And it's like that little graphic that you see on Instagram where you're helping the people below you up the ladder. That's what happens in a co-working space, isn't it? It's like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let the person who's walked the path before you lay the breadcrumbs so that you can shortcut it.
And that is one of the reasons I'm such a fan of what you do, because it is... Gee, Stacey, how many desks were in your co-working space before you moved?
I had like five in the main office, and then we had 3 in a slightly smaller office where people could do like smaller meetings.
So it's like something that happens a lot, and that's why I make this co-working space imposter syndrome joke all the time, is so many people run very small co-working spaces that are like, you know, this vital lung of energy in their local community. And I mean, other people think they have to have like 100 desks to make any kind of impact. And it's as important as the local post office used to be in the good old days. I've got to find a way to finish this, so we're just going to finish. Where can we find you online, Stacey?
So on Instagram, I'm at the Tribe Coworks, and the same on Facebook. And on LinkedIn, I am Stacey Sheppard.
And we're going to put links in the show notes, folks. I'm going to make you all go to look at the Athena magazine, and also Stacey's. When did you start your blog, Stacey?
Oh, 2009.
Oh my God.
Like an OG blogger, like a pensioner, geriatric blogger now.
You're like the Cher of design blogging. There is in all seriousness, folks, if you go there, I know you're a big fan of biophilic design, which keeps popping up as I think the workspace trends folks who have been around for ages are running a whole conference on biophilic design, which is my new favorite thing. And you've known it about like 100 years now, haven't you?
Yeah.
So anyway, folks, links in the show notes. We're very proud of our show notes. Always link to other things. If you go to that was a real non-sentence, sorry. If you go to the link we post for this podcast most of the time is Substack, which is, we're building a community over there. You can sign up to get an email as well as the alert in wherever you listen to podcasts. And we would encourage you to go to the nearly 8,000 people are in the LinkedIn co-working group, where we're welcoming people from all around the world to post things and questions and share little happenings in their little co-working spaces around the world. If you want us to sign up for your software innovation, we're not particularly interested, but if you'd like to tell us what's going on in your co-working space, we're really interested. Anything else to add before we hang up, Stacey?
No, I don't think so. I think we've pretty much covered it.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you for your time and attention today, ladies and gentlemen. Be careful out there. It is a jungle.